Hi everyone. I thought I'd make a quick video about this Weldpro welder. I like this welder very much. I'll set this thing up afterwards on a tripod and show you a couple of the features about it, but this is a great welder and I'm having a lot of fun playing with it. I couldn't find anything on YouTube about the controls, so I thought maybe I could just make a very quick video and show you how this thing works and some of the features that it has, and it might help somebody decide if this is for them. I'll tell you, I'm in love with this thing. I'm having a blast with it. So let me put this thing on the tripod, this camera, and then we'll take it from there. Hang on. Okay, I think I've got the entire front of the machine in frame now, and I can show you a little bit about it. Here's a torch. It's a nice, comfortable torch. It says Ergo Plus 15. This particular welder has a dongle in the front. And the way you would consider this, you would consider this to be the connector for the MIG line. In other words, this is the ground. This goes to your work with the clamp. And this is the negative side. And I'm putting this into the negative side. And therefore, if I plug this in to the positive side, again, this centerpiece, this center little dongle here on the DINS connector is the final connection for what polarity your torch cable will have. So we turn this into the positive side, and we're going to be welding with DC, reverse polarity, electrode positive, and that's the way we MIG weld. This wire is just simply the switch wire for the torch on and off wire feed, and that's as simple as it is. If you were going to do any flux core welding, of course you would take these out and reverse them so that the final connection for your cable is going to come over to straight polarity electrode negative. Okay, now that's pretty much all you got to worry about there. For MIG welding, for stick welding, you're going to be using reverse polarity electrode positive. And this machine can do basically 4 kinds of welding. It can do MIG, it can do flux core welding, it can do actually lift TIG welding, as well as stick welding. So it's pretty versatile machine. This is a nice little machine to have in your garage. If you got to get something done, you go. This is a go-to machine. It's got plenty of power, 200. So let's turn this thing on, and I'll show you some of the settings on here if I can. Okay, can we see that? Yeah, I think so. Now, based on what kind of welding you want to do, these controls are a lot simpler than you would think, and don't have to overthink all this stuff. This is a very easy machine to use. Based on the kind of welding that you'd like to do, there's a toggle here between MIG, lift TIG, and stick. Of course, under the MIG heading, you can do either MIG welding, which is your standard MIG welding with argon and carbon dioxide gas, or you can do flux core welding that doesn't require any gas at all. So that would be under the MIG heading. You can click it over here to the TIG, click again to the stick, and click back to the MIG. That's as simple as that. The 2T and the 4T setting is basically a switch setting so that you can momentarily touch your switch under 2T on your trigger, and it will feed wire and weld while the switch is depressed, and when you let go of it, it'll stop welding. On the 4T setting, it's a little bit more complicated, and for longer runs you can touch this switch on the torch and let go, and it continues to run, and then you would touch it again, it would downslope and stop as you let go. But I don't know that I'd ever use that setting. I never even played with it, to be perfectly honest with you. But let's get back to the MIG setting here. Oh, by the way, this is for remote. If you press this and the light goes on here, this machine is capable of running a spool so that you can weld aluminum. And that's what this is, remote for the spool. Let me shut this thing off for remote. There we go. Okay, now we're in MIG mode. This is called a synergic design, which means that when you adjust the wire speed or the voltage, both parameters adjust together. So if I were to adjust the wire speed down, as I go down, the machine automatically compensates for the lower speed and it adjusts the voltage accordingly. That's a great setting to have so that you don't have to go crazy trying to figure out what wire speed you need for what voltage, and it pretty much does all the thinking for you. Now, beyond that, there is an adjustment to fine-tune this even further, which I really think is nice. If you push this button, you can get fine and coarse adjustments. But over here on the menu, there's a little menu button here. If I press the menu, it goes to voltage. And you can see here it says 0. I can turn this down from 0 to -20, or the other way, from 0 to +20. Now what that means is you are able to make fine adjustments to the voltage. You're able to make fine adjustments to the voltage alone without affecting the wire speed by plus or minus 20% of whatever the current voltage setting is. So now we have, for example, this voltage set at 20. I can change this voltage by as much as 8 volts, 4 to the minus or 4 to the plus. So I'll give you an example. We're at 20 volts. I hit the menu for voltage, and I'm going to set this down all the way to -20. And now 20% of 20 is 4. I've come all the way down to 16 volts, and I still maintain the exact same wire speed. Conversely, let's bring this thing up to +20. And now we're at 24 volts, and we maintain the same wire speed. So while this thing is designed in that synergic fashion where it will adjust volts and amps, wire speed is current and heat, but it can adjust both together so that you don't have to go crazy trying to figure out. Or if you want to get that fine setting, you're able to use that voltage plus or minus 20%, and you'll be able to even more finely tune it in. Now, beyond that, there's another pretty neat thing that I found on this machine. I hadn't played with it too much yet, but that's over here, and that's an inductance setting. That gives you a plus and minus 10% of the default. Every welding MIG welder has an induction setting. A lot of them are fixed and you can't adjust them. And from what I've read, because I'm no expert, they're pretty much in the 35 range, 35% I believe range. And that's a set number and you can't adjust it. But with this machine, you can adjust it. You can go to induction and you can set it to minus or plus 10% of the default factory setting for inductance. Now, what does that mean? I don't know. No, I'm only kidding. What that means is every time you strike your wire to your work, the short circuit kind of stops, and the wire heats up, and it heats up to a point where it gets so hot that it melts and it pops, and then you have your arc going again. This happens over and over. The inductance setting makes it so that you can get this wire hotter faster when it touches, and it doesn't pop and spark as much because it's much quicker to melt. And what that can do, or what it does do, is gives you a longer arc period, which can result in a little bit hotter weld, maybe a little bit flatter weld, but with a lot less spatter. And because it gives you a hotter weld, I do believe, and I haven't played with this yet, we can finally adjust the wire feed to go along with this inductance setting. So it's just a cool thing to have. It's nice to be able to play with all these extra options. Every time you have an option, it gives you more latitude to get the weld exactly the way you want it. Also, that's the inductance setting. This is just the diameter of the wire setting. You have an option here to put 40 thousandths, 30 thousandths, 23 thousandths wire in there. So whatever wire you put in your wire feeder, you come over here to the diameter, set the menu to match the wire thickness that you have. And that's as simple as that is. And then we'll go back to our voltage and wire feed speed. So that's the MIG setting. Let me think what else I can tell you about the MIG setting on this. It really is straightforward. We go over to lift TIG, and this is amperage. You just select your amperage, and that's, I guess that pretty much says select, I don't know, but anyway, it's just an amperage setting. You can set your amperage wherever you want. It comes with the TIG torch. It's a nice torch. It's a number 17 torch. Of course, you have to set this up for pure argon when you use the TIG welder. You can't use your combination CO2 and argon. This has to be 100% argon. And the way the lift TIG works is you set up your regulator, you turn on your argon tank, maybe 20 to 25 cubic feet per hour, and then just before you're going to weld, you turn on your argon here with this knob, and you simply touch your tip to the work and then lift it, and your arc starts and you can begin to TIG weld. It's not a scratch start, it's a lift arc start, so there's a little gradual increase in amperage. When you touch this, you'll see the tip of the tungsten begin to glow just a little bit, and you pick it and it starts, and it's very nice. When you're all done with your weld, simply shut off your argon, and that's as simple as that is. Stick mode, there's no other things here to worry about in the menu for lift arc. For stick, you set it to stick, and you come to your menu, and you have an arc force setting, and you can set your arc force. Basically, when you're arc welding, as your welding rod becomes shorter, you come closer and closer to the work. Sometimes beginners do that just naturally. They can't maintain that length. And if you come very close to the work, the voltage can go down, and the stick can actually stick to your work. Well, with this arc force setting, it helps to eliminate that by increasing the voltage as it gets closer to the work to prevent the stick from sticking to the work. That is another great feature of this machine. So, all in all, the machine can do, over here too, let me show you this. This is a voltage reduction device that's available in stick mode. And basically what that means, and you'd have to read a little bit more about this, guys, because I'm no expert, but this stick is, in stick mode, the stick is hot. The current is hot. And there's a lot of voltage there. You can shock yourself. But this open circuit voltage reduction device that's inside this machine reduces the voltage of the open circuit so that if something were to happen, you don't get zapped with 124 volts or 124 amps, I guess. Again, I'm no expert with that, but this is a safety feature that is included in the machine, and you can turn it on and off should you so desire. So we go back to our MIG mode here, and again, complete simplicity. These things move together unless you press the menu and you choose the voltage setting. You get to go plus or minus 20% of the current voltage, and you're able to adjust that separately to fine-tune things. And that's pretty much everything I can tell you about this machine. It's so versatile, and it's light, and it's just a great machine. I highly recommend it. Comes with the TIG torch. Of course, you're going to have to get separate argon if you're going to use the lift TIG. And I did do a little bit of lift TIG welding the other day, and it's great. I mean, it's just great. So that's really all I have to say about this machine. It's I think it's worth every penny, and I've been playing with this thing right along, and it's been running right along, chugging along, no problems at all. So there it is, Weldpro MIG200GDsv is the model number, and I just think it's a great choice for just all-around versatility. I did want to show you the insides here. Silly me. I did want to show you the insides here. Naturally, I forget to do these things. I'll show you a still picture of this little sheet here. It's really nice. Again, there's nothing really special going on in here. It's adjustable wire tensioner. It can take the small or the large size wire reels. It's got tension adjuster here for the drive wheel, which is it's a bottom feed drive wheel. The torch is removable, of course, because you can put a spool on here to aluminum weld. And it's great construction. It's very solidly made in here. There's not really a whole lot more to say about the insides here, other than you simply feed the wire into your roller as you would in any MIG welder. I'm assuming you guys understand all that part of it. There's no sense going crazy taking all this apart and just sliding the wire back in. But it's well made. It's adjustable. Just nice. Good features in there. One more thing. I like the idea that this opens down. Whether or not it matters to you guys, but sometimes when you put these things on a welding cart, if you should put this on the bottom or in the center tray and you try to have this thing where it opens up, it's the tray itself, the welding cart itself is in the way. But this is so nice. It just comes straight down. You've always got access to it. So in my mind, I consider that another nice feature of the machine. Thanks, guys. I hope this helped a little bit explain what these settings are. And I hope it makes it a little bit easier to get up and running. The back of the machine, I didn't turn it around, but to be honest with you, there's nothing in the back of the machine other than the connection for your gas, and that's for the MIG welding, and your power switch. There's just nothing else to worry about back there, so it's all very basic and it's all very nice. Thanks for watching. I hope I was able to help you a little bit and show you a little bit about how this machine works.